license fee today by dialing star 447 star 33 hash, star 447 star 333 hash. The time is now to play Rand Lottery, the Trusted Lottery that gives you more chances to win big every single day. It's affordable, transparent, and rewarding. Rand Lottery puts you first. Now here's the best part. With 3 daily draws, you never miss a chance. Start your morning with exciting morning draws. Keep the 3 alive at noon with the Star Midday Games and close the day in style with the Naju Star Draws. That's 3 opportunities every day, from Monday to Sunday, to turn your dreams into reality. So don't wait. Whether it's building that new home, supporting your family, or chasing your personal goals, Rand Lottery is the best lottery to stake. Join thousands of winners across the country and make your dream a reality. Now today the games are Kashif Life and Star Wednesday. Now, if you're looking to expand your business horizons while enjoying a world-class travel experience, here's something to note. The Vanuatu Business and Pleasure Tour 2026 is bringing together business leaders, investors, and professionals for a unique blend of strategic engagement and leisure. Participants will take part in business forums, networking sessions, and investment discussions, while also experiencing Vanuatu's rich culture, scenic islands, and tourism attractions. It is business with purpose and pleasure. Registration is currently open for the Vanuatu Business and Pleasure Tour 2026. Think business, think leisure, think Vanuatu. Now to register, call the Vanuatu Trade Commission Ghana on 02440 229 282 or 0544 626 905. Note, registration is on first-come, first-served basis. Now, how do you start your day? Well, if you haven't had your cup of Mixi Choco, you are truly missing out. The rich new taste of Mixi Choco is crafted to brighten your mornings and keep you refreshed all day long. Everything you need is right in there. Just add hot water, stir, and enjoy. Warm, comforting cup. Now, for the coffee lovers, Mixi has something special for you too. Mixi Coffee delivers a creamy, smooth coffee experience that keeps you energized for your everyday hustle. Honestly, just one sip and you're good to go. And guess what? There's more. Introducing the new delicious Mixi Strawberry, a sweet, exciting addition and one more reason to love Mixi. Start your day the right way. Start it with Mixi. Mixi Chatno Hot. Right, we'll now look at what their stories are saying for in front of the newspapers this morning. We'll start off with the Ghanaian Times. Restoring confidence in land administration, government to cancel illegal land deals. That's Minister Mr. Amakofi Boa, Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, right there. Only Attorney General can defeat OSP Act, Supreme Court rules. On page 3, you can see that. And read for yourself. Make Gadangbe languages compulsory in schools by Ghana Traditional Council. They are saying so. Now to the Daily Graphic. Government takes over illegally acquired state lands. And CRC recommendation on education maintains status quo on mission schools. Christian Council. And energy reforms yields $15 billion. No blackout in 10 months by the energy minister. Other stories in there as well. Now to the Daily Guide. Survey tips Ken to win 52%. You can see that on page 3. And again, sold public lands to be reviewed. Amakofi Boa says so as well. SC adjourns for Tokoni cases indefinitely. You can see her picture right there as well. Other stories in there for Daily Graphic. Now, the Observer Times. Lands crackdown. Cabinet okays cancellation of irregular state land deals. And on youth empowerment, Minister integrates Grant Management Committee for a Jumaria program. And MPP flag bearer raised Baumia's 10 appointment pledge. Other stories in there for the Observer Times. Now the National Voice. Bawumia poised for victory after high-energy nationwide NPP tour. Significant shift in NPP delegates' preferences following final round of campaigning. And Supreme Court dismisses OSP's bid to join suit challenging its powers. Right. Now the Chronicle, vape calls for stronger environmental stewardship. On the voter cocaine bust, IGP promotes officers who rejected 20,000 bribe. Well, the IGP says so that now no police officer would accept a bribe. So I think that's what we are saying in there. Other stories in the Chronicle. Now to the next. The Meridian, turn out and vote for me, Dr. Bawumia tells delegates. Help steer Ghana's economic reset, BOG, to the media. More stories in there as well. Now on to the next. The BFT, DPC to sanction non-complaint institutions. You can see that on page 3. Despite diplomatic gains, citizens face structural mobility barriers. And, well, other stories in banking as well. System-wide failures plague MMDA's financial management by CLCA. Stories in there in business. The Daily Statesman, Bawumia gets massive endorsements in AR as it concludes NPP flag bearership campaign. That's in Ashanti region. No more bills under certificates of urgency. Minority wants NDC. Jinapon, Bawumia is NPP's best bets for 2028. Right? All about their upcoming primaries. But we'll look at the top stories and, you know, have various analysis as Vander Pallen sits with his guests to digest the various topics. Please stay.
Time for our headline segment. You're still tuning into the GTV Breakfast Show. It's a Wednesday. I am Kweku Vandapalen. It's your Felix. Now, Ghana's headlines are making waves this morning, and we are diving right in. A major development that's sending shock waves across the nation. The sale of state lands has sparked controversy, with Cabinet approving the revocation of state lands without process audits. Critics are raising questions about transparency and accountability. Is this a recipe for prudent management or a recipe for disaster? And in Parliament, tensions are running high as the NPP minority vows to resist the government's bills under certificate of urgency. The gloves are off, and the debate promises to be lively. So 2 stories, 2 perspectives. Let's unpack the news shaping our nation and get the analysis you need to stay informed. Time for headlines discussions, and I've just been joined by Mr. Charles Bawdua from the NDC, MP for Bongo. Charles, welcome to the show. Good morning to you.
Thank you. Good morning to you.
Hope you're doing good.
I'm fine. I hope you're fine too.
I'm fine too.
Let me say good morning to your viewers.
Absolutely.
I hope you also have a good morning as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're dressed like a lawyer.
Indeed, I am. So
Okay.
hereafter, I'll proceed to the course.
Absolutely.
You know, the Pandai case decision is coming on this morning.
Yeah.
So it's only fair and just that good to know the outcome of the decision.
Absolutely.
So
So you're just going to observe, or you're going to play an active?
no,
legal
I
role?
will be at the bar.
At the bar.
And then the outcome, we can now educate the public about what has transpired. It's always better to be there than to rely on media reportage.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll start with state of lands, sale of state lands. Cabinet approving revocation of state lands without process audits. What is actually triggering this revocation at this time? I'm asking because acquisition of properties may not be a novelty as such, right?
Well, let me say that this issue about the acquisition of state lands is so important that as a country we have to look at it dispassionately and to deal with it irrespective of which political party is in power. You see, the majority of the state lands that we have was acquired during the colonial era and especially during the Kwame Nkrumah regime for specific purposes which are important to the state. So if you look at the procedure for acquiring state property, you need to indicate in the LI for which the property is going to be compulsorily acquired and indicate the specific purpose. So state lands are acquired for specific purposes. Now, somehow along the line, because of the delay in the execution of those projects for which the lands were acquired, certain individuals, especially government officials and high-ranking individuals of ruling political parties, take advantage and now sell this land to themselves. And what's funny is that sometimes the value of these lands do not even come close to the real value as we know it in Ghana. And so they take these lands at peanuts, much to the detriment of the state. And significantly, it is these high-ranking officials who should have protected these state lands who now turn around and then sell it to themselves. So I think that the decision by the cabinet to agree that there should be an audit and review of these transactions, and that those which were found to have involved procedural irregularities or that they did not, the value for which they were bought whether or not the actual value should be revoked, I think it is in the right direction. You see, look, in the very near future, if care is not taken, the state may find it difficult to get land, to execute projects for the state. And you will notice that in recent times, hardly do you see the state acquiring land. Hardly. So we keep on selling what we already have over the period. And we keep doing that, and before we know, the amount of land that the state will have will eventually reduce, and the state ends up having nothing.
Okay.
So it is important that this is done. I want to state that this is an exercise that should not be limited to any period. I saw the statement, and it appeared to say that recent transaction. I think that you should go beyond recent transaction. Let's just look through all the transactions and see which ones were not properly done. When I was a law student, I lived in the current place where the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is situated. It used to be the International Student Hostel. And foreign students and even local students who did not have places to reside resided there and then went to school. Then sometime in 2006, we were told that, the government has decided to redevelop the area and that there had been a change in the drawings and all that. All of a sudden, the student hostels were pulled down and the lands demarcated into various plots with fence walls, sold to individuals. It took the intervention of His Excellency John Evans Atamiat, who revoked those transactions. And that is the reason why the state has had the opportunity to construct and erect the Foreign Affairs Ministry there.
I'm sure it will sound good in the ears of many people when you say that this move, this revocation, should be extended to a certain period. Which frame, time are you looking at?
I think that from Kwame Nkrumah's order onwards, if it is possible to find that information, why not? Because insofar as the sales were irregular, then it was a nullity. Except, of course, there will be legal barriers such as the principle of time lapse. You understand? Otherwise, there should be no reason why we should not revoke such sales. Look, even when you are doing such sales, it means then that the purpose for which the acquisitions were done is no longer feasible. And the law is very clear. The Constitution said that, look, if you compulsorily acquire land for a specific purpose, and for which the land is no longer going to be used for that purpose, the land should automatically revert to the original owners.
What are the kinds of reasons, the purposes that you would go for, which are legitimate to own and acquire such land?
Yeah, so you see, if land is acquired by the state for a specific purpose, then if the state says that we no longer intend to use this land for that purpose, if there is an alternative purpose for the use of the land by the state, then the state will have to do another airline to redirect the use of the land for the state. Otherwise, under no circumstance should the state now sell land to individuals at all. There should be no justification for it. If the state doesn't have any use for the land, as I said, is supposed to go back to the original owners. And that is why you will see in recent times, you see Ghana chiefs from various communities demonstrating and taking the state to court for portions of land which were acquired by the state for specific purposes and now have been sold to individuals. You go to cantonment and state lands have been sold out. If you sell out state lands in cantonment, if the state wants to develop a particular property for these new institutions that are being set up sometimes by acts of parliament and other projects, where
should be made to cover new ownerships and all that? Is it really that doable, considering the time frame, and if it is, what has been stopping it in the past? Because that's probably is leading to
I think that is personally acquiring those lands. They don't even follow those steps. There's nothing wrong with the state taking the necessary steps to ensure that there is an airline
Okay.
to amend or as in review the existing one so as to redirect the use of the land. There's nothing stopping the state. But because of personal interest, and I say this dispassionately, irrespective of which political party it is.
Okay, and I like that bit where you use the word dispassionate and all that. But I also asked how it's coming up at this time. But let me go to...
And it is coming on at this time. Let me answer that question. It is coming on at this time because we have a government of John Dramani Mahama who has promised to rule this nation in good faith. Read out corruption, and you cannot claim to be reading out corruption if you are aware and knowledge has come to you of the existence of this transaction which can be reviewed.
Let me quickly go to George Aisi, who's with the NPP communications team. George is on the line. Good morning, George.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good to have you here. Headlines, GTV Breakfast Show.
It's always a pleasure.
Wonderful. Now, George, you've been in the previous administration. What kinds of arrangements on acquisition of properties went on?
On acquisition of properties?
Yes, lands, for instance.
Oh, but I remember these issues of land acquisitions came up, and the then government came out to vehemently speak against some of the accusations against government officials who allegedly have acquired prime lands in cantonments and other places. To the point that I remember the then Honorable Minister Abu Jinapor came out with some releases or documents to prove that certain lands were leased or sold out to individuals preceding the government of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. However, he admitted that there were some that were sold under the Akufo-Addo administration, albeit a release was made by the Akufo-Addo administration that from then individuals in government were not going to be allowed to acquire state lands. I remember that. It became a very topical issue in the country. I remember that.
Okay. Now, with this, having said this, I would like to ask you what you make of, the current move by Cabinet recommending or approving revocation of lands. What do you make of it?
Absolutely. In my personal view, we've been told not to be making those allusions, but as a citizen, as a Ghanaian, I've personally been against individuals acquiring state lands by virtue of, you got to know of that land being available by virtue of the fact that you occupy a state position. Okay, many Ghanaians wouldn't be privy to the availability of those lands. But because we were made a minister, because we were made a chief executive or a deputy minister, or because you were in government, you got to know about that. And then you decide that you have the capacity to acquire it and going forward to acquire it at the expense of the state. I think it's not right. It's not proper for people occupying state positions to be acquiring state lands left, right, center. And not only that, state buildings as well. I think it's sickening. I'm sorry, but it's not fair to the citizenry. If for whatever reason, like the land redevelopment policy, that is different. For instance, cantonment, you have a whole acre of land and then you have just a 3-bedroom apartment, 1-block bungalow on it. So the redevelopment policy was good. And that one is to build a high-rise building and then put about 4 or 5 apartments on that 1-acre land. That is good. And if it's done properly, yes, the state benefits and individuals, also benefit. But to take that 1-acre land, pull it down as an individual, buy it very cheaply, and then you put your property there and lease it out to individuals and benefit from it, I think it's improper. We need to support the government's decision to prescribe that.
Yes. George, we tout and talk about all these virtues, and yet there are suspicions which drives, others to come up with, such moves to investigate and find out who owns what, how they owned it. It tells us that there are yawning gaps between what we say and what we actually do about what we say. What do you think?
Yes, I agree. But if you investigate and you get to know, and there's no support from a government official or a minister of state who gives you the opportunity or goes to parliament or cabinet to get a policy to open that space for an individual to go and acquire that land. I don't think individuals on their own can go and take government properties or government lands. No. You see, that's part of the reason that generated tension between the traditional council in some areas and government, because you've acquired the land for a purpose. For whatever reason you were not able to utilize, you decide that you're giving it out to a crony. And then the original owners realize, no, you said you needed this land for this purpose. And now we see that individuals are building on it, their private hotels or whatever. It incensed them and can create tension. So I think let all support the government to push this policy and stand by it. If they will be able to stand by that, no individual, especially members of government or their relatives or cronies, can acquire such land, because they got to know those lands are available and government is not going to use it for the purpose for which it acquired it. That would be a good thing by government, and the states will be happy and commend the government for that if they are able to stick by that.
Now, are some of your party members going to be found wanting in this move?
I would say yes, because of what I said earlier, that there were those allegations, and in fact, not just allegations, documents were pulled out. You remember there was a tangle between Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa and some members of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources in relation to this, to the point that a certain fuel station was alleged to have acquired lands, and it was being portrayed that it was the government that gave it out, and all those things that brought this thing out. So definitely, I think some of the individuals in our government then and party now may be found wanting. But once it's the law and it's a state policy by governments, which personally I support, I don't think we should be acquiring state lands left, right, and center, especially the prime ones at the expense of the state. The state may decide to do a certain major project in the future in the interest of the state, and there'll be no land at the heart of Accra or at prime areas to be able to put up such projects. And that will not be. Yes, people will say go to the outskirts, and that will help expand the capital or the city. Yes, but you don't just, my brother Felix, you see that the price at which they bought some of those lands is ludicrous. It's ludicrous, and doesn't pretend that we're serious in protecting our state properties. And so all out, if individuals from within our government are found wanting, let the law take its course.
Let the law take its course. Now, Charles with me in the studio is saying that we should extend it and probably take it back to even, do you say Nkrumah's time?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Is that feasible for you? What do you think about
Why not? Why not? It may disadvantage those individuals. They may not believe in, their families will be affected. Very painful. But to Nkrumah's time, I think it will be a pain. But it's a state policy, and we need to protect and recover all state lands and put it to good use. It's nauseating for individuals who have had the privilege of being in government to be acquiring state lands and state bungalows. It's upset, Felix. I think all of us, and if we have to go back to the 60s, why not? Let's do it. But the recent ones, we can focus on that. Then as we progress, we see how the recovery is going. Then we can decide to extend it. But for now, if we can focus on the recent past, that will help us. For a start, then we build into the past, the Nkrumah eras. But whatever it is, we need to recover state lands and put it to state use.
Okay, all right. Some would say it's nauseating, that's what somebody say. But I'll get back to you. Let me come back to Charles with me in the studio. Charles, recovery is not an easy journey. What's the plan? How easy is it going to be for the administration to go through this process and recover where necessary?
Well, I think that, to be honest with you, I do not, and then look at the possibility. But I think that, like you said, it is not going to be easy. I can foresee serious, long, winding legal battles.
Wow.
Oh yes, I can see legal battles because, especially those who have acquired and developed their plots, there's no way they are going to sit down and just let go. And you know that in this country, even the state is not above the law.
And the way they say the law is the law, but the law is tricky.
Yeah, so the fact that the state is coming to take what you perceive to be your property doesn't mean that because the state you let go.
So some people
And
could
the
get
state-
away with it.
Well, it will depend on the facts of the case. And like, you know, the statement said, this was going to focus on where the transactions were irregular, you know, the procedures were not properly followed, the evaluation was skewed and undermined. All these things, if they can adduce evidence to show that indeed this purported sale was a hoax intended only to gift out state property to these individuals, there is no reason why the state should not recover that. But this is not going to come easy. I'm not sure that the state will just go and say that, look, we are seizing your land and taking it without any due process. There will be due, but even either the purported owners or the state to be able to recover those ones. So I can see legal tussles. And given the fact that our court system are so slow in the determination and the provision of justice to the people, I can see this dragging on.
But I heard, there will be introduction of certain courts to help with legal proceedings and all that. Perhaps that could
Oh
go
yes.
along with it.
And in recent times, there have been reforms even in the rules of court to enable these processes to go on. But yet still, justice delivery is still quite slow. I think that we need to expand the justice delivery system. Look, you go to a courtroom and the day's proceedings involve up to 20 cases.
Wow.
There's no way a judge can seriously and properly hear that. So we need more courts and we need to automate them, as it were. And I am happy that the courts have introduced what they call the afternoon session. So some judge will go in the morning, work up to about 1 o'clock, another judge takes and work up to about 5 o'clock. And I'm sure that will help this thing. But coming back to the main issue, there will be serious litigation when this happens. And I think the state has to be prepared to do this. If it has to employ more lawyers to be able to prosecute
Such as
this,
your kind, right?
to be able to prosecute this, I think that should be done. Well, it is key that we must not allow this to continue.
Yeah, but talking about
And
employing
then-
more lawyers,
Yes.
will it be appropriate to involve party lawyers or not?
Oh no,
Because
the
people think it could-
state has its lawyers.
Okay.
The Attorney General has lawyers.
All right, that's fine.
The Lands Commission has its lawyers. So these are the persons who should be working, unless it becomes very necessary for the state to acquire the services of private lawyer. And there's no reason why the state should acquire the service of private lawyer when you have all these lawyers in the Attorney General office
Okay.
and the Lands Commission.
Okay.
And there are several other state institutions which
So Mother Ghana, sometimes Alma Ghana, will be weeping because the values, they sort of devalue it. And sometimes to get rid of it quickly, what is the motive, the rationale?
I think this is just a massage kind of to give, rule in the government and sometimes abuse of power, I will call it. You understand? Well, these same lands, when a private person is selling a similar plot around the same area to another private person,
Extremely high.
they will even the state to give out prime lands.
Prime lines.
Very prime ones. Airport residential area, cantonments, Arabraka region, all these areas are prime areas, very valuable properties. and they sell them out at peanuts. They are just gifts. And that is where you can see the influence of political leaders in it. Because they run the state, they are in control and in charge of the affairs of the state. They are the people who should have ensured that these properties, even if they are to be sold, are properly negotiated and the right price they will get for the state. They don't do that. So they abused it.
Okay.
It's an abuse of power. A
Yep.
clear abuse. And it's good that this government has decided to take this step. It will serve as a deterrent to future persons who, make up their mind to acquire state land, because you will know that you are not safe. In the very future, some other government will say, let us review these things, and then you may lose your property. So they will be more careful in how they go into this kind of transaction. We must set the standard and set the precedent.
Absolutely.
It is not safe to buy state land.
Absolutely.
In legal practice, they say that the safest land to buy is from the state. That's the jargon there. But we must show that that is not the safest land.
Yeah. I appreciate this conversation. George is still on the line. I'm going to him right now. I appreciate this conversation because it's devoid of partisan nature.
I mean,
we are not
cannot be
politicizing
partisan.
this.
We can't be
at all.
partisan
Yes.
with matters of the state.
Yes. George, are you there?
I'm here.
Wonderful. You heard Charles. We're talking about the legal processes, and as they say, the wheel of justice grinds slowly. That's another aspect that we looked at, and perhaps you want to, chip in on that.
As he said, there's the possibility of setting up special courts. These days the Chief Justice is minded to set up special courts to expedite action on certain matters, and once that window is available, would rather the Chief Justice is prevailed upon to set up a special court to handle these matters of the state lands and where litigations come up. The other worry that I'm looking at, it may not be too this, but you see, we just pray that the judges will let the law be the law. Felix, you know why? Because some of the judges have suffered from their buildings or bungalows being taken over, pulled down, and go. And some, I believe to date, may not be happy with those actions. And so if they are then to sit over matters of land, their biases may, I'm just cautioning that may be there because of the experience they've had and which wasn't good for them. I think the other aspect that I'm looking at, if we can let Parliament pass a law to protect these lands once they are retrieved or recovered, so that going forward, as they can use their numbers in Parliament to revoke some of the laws of previous governments and go. But then, if we can have protection of that going forward, so that state lands will not be sold haphazardly to cronies and individuals at the expense of the state. So I think it's a good step by this government if they can focus on it. I pray that we don't get to a point where members of the government become interested and decide to go and possess those lands themselves in the future, especially when the president or the leadership's focus is off that a little. You get it? Let's keep the focus and move with Parliament making laws for that protection of those lands, so that all of us can receive that, yes, we have some land banks as states, and in case of any serious emergency that we need a certain facility, a certain structure, we can easily follow. I'm saying this because of the Accra International Conference Center. You remember, it was a special purpose vehicle that brought that facility there, and to date, the state is benefiting from it. If we didn't have any land somewhere around that place, we wouldn't have had that facility there. Okay, so for similar reasons, if we have the lands there and it's protected by law, and this government is determined to retrieve and then keep those lands for the state, it will be good for all of us.
So buildings should be pulled and torn down just in case we find out.
As Charles said, once we go through the legal tussle and the state wins, why? If the state doesn't need that land, that building, it goes off, and you leave the land for the state.
Okay. Now, George, you know, let me speak to Charles a little bit. Charles, George, you know, dreads a bit of a revenge from certain judges who, just in case, who have suffered, you know, some of these. What do you make
Well,
of that?
I think that I think it's a genuine concern, but you see, the thing is that the judicial process is very strict. It is about the evidence before the judge. You understand? No judge is allowed to go outside of what you know. You may know certain things outside, but insofar as that has not come before as part of the evidence, it should not form the basis for your judgment. And then, mind you, that is why we have a certain hierarchy in the judicial system. You have a high court judge. I'm sure this matter will start as the high court. If that happens, the judge makes a decision, and you can show that the judge was wrong, or that in fact the judge was influenced by some activity that involved his or her accommodation or bungalow, and for which reason the judgment went a certain way. You can always move to the next level, the Court of Appeal, and ultimately the Supreme Court. And that's why I say that, look, this is a matter, that will drag in the courts because also of this appellate process. So it is possible that a judge may be influenced by someone, but if that happens and the evidence does not corroborate or does not support the decision of the judge, clearly that's a decision that can be set aside by a higher superior court, higher than the judge who made the decision. So I think, yes, we can. Some judges, superior judges, also acquired some of these lands. There's information to that effect.
Okay.
So why are we not thinking? So how about these people who also acquired, also trying to stifle the process, by blocking the effective implementation of this government policy? So let's see how it goes. Let's give it an open mind, and then work assiduously. Produce the evidence. When you go to court, the question is, it's a matter of evidence. And these land issues, substantive law, are quite different when you come to these constitutional issues, when political considerations and all these things are coming. The issue about who owns the land and whether a land was properly acquired is a question of fact and against the law.
Okay.
And so I'm sure we can effectively deal with this.
And I remember the saying that the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. All those things sometimes come into play and all that.
The game.
The game.
The game
It's a
is
game.
evident, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we're managing time, so we want to move on to our next topic. And I hope, George, you're still there on the line.
Yeah, I wanted to put in something.
Okay, finally.
Yes. What happens if it's after the due process, but the state wants to recover it? Is there the possibility of compensation? It's likely the court will give that when everything is established that it was properly given out to that individual, and now the state needs it back. Must that individual be compensated? That's what I'm throwing to Charles, please.
Yeah, so you see, the Constitution gives the state the power to compulsorily acquire any land. It can be your house, it can be anybody's property. So even after the court has compulsory acquisition, but when that is done, you have to be paid compensation for it. A compensation that will amount to the actual value as has been done by the Lands Commission, and then the state will pay for the value of it and then take the property.
But can one stand illegally and say, state, no?
No. It doesn't happen like that.
It doesn't happen
Once
that way.
the state establishes that it needs it for the public good, the key thing is the public good. If it needs the property for the public good, it is immaterial who owns it.
Public interest.
Yes,
it's primary.
Exactly.
It's primary.
So the state can compulsorily acquire. That is why when you are building roads, they demolish people's stores along the way and other things. Some people genuinely don't want their property to go, but because it's the public interest, the state will pay the requisite compensation for it. So likewise, if it is shown that you properly bought state land and you now own it legally, the state loses the case and still is interested in the land. It can come by way of compulsory acquisition, but it must demonstrate that it is for the public interest.
Okay, all right. So that's it for sale of state lands and revocation of those properties. Now, we are moving on to our next topic, and I'll begin with you, George. I see your minority is vowing to resist government bills and the certificate of agency. George, do you or your group have any trust issues, with government policies and decisions?
You see, I think it's about time we tackled or we dealt with these issues of certificate of agencies once and for all. It's happened under us, and we thought some people, especially the NDC members of parliament, some of them were not happy with those things. Because look, some of the documents that you need to peruse, they are so voluminous and critical, point able to understand what the issues are. Then you can make informed decision relative to the passage of bills where we brought bills under certificate of urgency, and then we can bet that some MPs just saw the document there and then, or about 2-3 hours to the time of voting and the discussion. Look at certain loans or decisions that were taken by Parliament, and you realize if we had the time to go through this, this shouldn't have been so. And who loses? It's the state. Okay, it's the state. And so if my party, the minority, is saying that at this point we've come to the crossroad, it's time we put our feet down to say, look, this we've had enough of these certificates of urgency. Let's do things properly. Let's get time to peruse all government documents and bills, and then make the decisions accordingly so that the state or the nation will be the ultimate beneficiary. I don't think it's trust issues. I think it's the proper and right thing to do for the sake of Mother Ghana.
Okay. So on this, I'll come to Charles in the studio. Charles, when you were in opposition, what did it look like? Did you embark on any such scrutiny programs, and what were the processes like?
Well, I clearly, when the NDC
Okay,
was in the
there's a quick video we'd want to watch, and then you respond to that one. Let's look at this.
A majority has turned Parliament into a parliament of fast track, where everything comes under certificate of urgency. They should be ready to beat us in the chamber. We will resist with all the energy in us. No more certificate of urgency. They had their way in the passage of the Gold Board law, the Energy Sector Recovery Levy, the Doomsor Levy. They also introduced its certificate of urgency, and many more other laws that they pass it through certificate of urgency without any scrutiny. We hereby sound a caution to the NDC majority. If they are not ready to read, we are ready to read. We all became aware that their 189 only exists in numbers, but come 2026, this 2026, they will never have their way.
Charles, are you going to give them kung fu? I will charge kung fu on them, because the ones you can choose to beat.
I
them
hope
up.
that the minority. No, very recently, they sought to block when we were trying to deal with the appropriation bill. Yeah. That day was very murky in Parliament, and they tried to physically stop us after singing and making noise and procedures continued. But nonetheless, the business went on. I do not want to see those scenes again. Let me come back to, the issue under discussion.
Because you were going to respond to your experience when you were in opposition.
Yeah, exactly. So, when we were in opposition, of course, we expressed concerns at certain stages of the use of that procedure as a way for legislation, certain acts of parliament. Yeah. But let me say that the position has not changed. The truth of the matter is that passing a law under a certificate of urgency is not unlawful. It is not unconstitutional.
That perhaps you overuse it.
Let me come. I'm coming to that. if you read Articles 106 of the Constitution, or even the Standing Orders of Parliament, that is a procedure that should be used sparingly. So the abuse of it is what we should be concerned with.
You don't abuse it?
And not the use of it. You see, the lawmaker, in making these laws, the framers of the Constitution, the framers of the Standing Orders of Parliament, saw the need that, of course, we should establish a standard way of passing bills. You know, gazette notification for 14 days, it is read the first time, and time is given, all that, which is perfect. But they recognize also that, look, you may have very urgent situations where you need to pass a bill through urgently to save the state. Maybe it could be pecuniary interest, it could be human rights, it could be whatever, security, matters of national interest, for which you immediately have to push that bill through. So that is why that provision was made. But the abuse of it is what we should all be concerned with.
Isn't minority leader given a certain impression that probably
I'm
going on?
coming to that.
Yeah.
I'm coming to that. And you see, and you look at the acts that he's complaining about, Gold Board and Gold Board. When Gold Board came, even though it was under a certificate of emergency, when several issues were raised for amendment, it came to the Committee on Winnowing. I'm a member of the Committee on Winnowing. We read through with the sponsors of the bill. We went back to Parliament, the floor of the House. There was extensive argument on it. And let me make the point that, look, when you are passing a bill under a certificate of emergency, it does not mean that there's timing. A certificate of emergency goes very swiftly. So, of course, you may not have the quantum of time that you would have needed, but debate is ongoing. Criticisms, proposals for amendments are all made on the floor of Parliament. So this, posture that we will not allow you to pass any bill on the state of emergency, that is not a good posture, because you know that the law allows it. So is the minority coming to amend the law, amend the Constitution, the standing orders, so as to take out those provisions which relate to passing a bill under a certificate of emergency? Or are they going to say that, no, we will not allow you enforce the law or apply the provisions of the law as provided?
George,
so I think that we should all be concerned that there should be no abuse of that procedure.
Okay.
And that where there are no real emergencies, where there's no real urgency, there should be no need to pass a bill through the state of a certificate of emergency.
All right.
That one I agree.
Okay.
But to say that you will not allow and that you will resist, I don't think that
Okay.
will go well for it.
George is on the line, I believe, and I want him to have a bite of the cherry. George, it looks as if the certificate of urgency is not being overflogged, and you want to introduce some red tapeism into the processes. That's what I'm getting.
It's being overused, it's being overflowed. Honorable himself knows it. And the certificate of urgency, how many members of Parliament are able to thoroughly go through the bill, okay, and get an informed position before plenary? How many? And how many members are able to confidently contribute to that bill, the debate of that bill at the plenary? He knows. A lot of members are not able to even peruse from page 1 to the last page.
But George, George, I have a question. Must it always be about the numbers? If a few did a good job on behalf of the...
It's a bill, Felix. It's a bill, and it's going to impact. They are the lawmakers. They are making laws for us. And so if my representative there, okay, is able to get the benefit of going through or perusing the whole document and understanding the content of the bill, he'll be able to make informed contributions at the plenary, and that will add on to making the law and passing the bill, okay? So that all of us as a people will be the beneficiaries of it. But if it's broad, maybe there's an expert. Honorable Charles is an expert in an area that is involved or captured in the bill. Okay, if he's given the time to go through, he will be able to bring his expertise to bear on the final decision or passage of the bill. Okay, that is what we are talking about. That they are denied that privilege and opportunity to bring the expertise to bear on the final document that is become the bill that the state is going to use for the people. It made disadvantages. That's why we are saying this. Yes, they have the numbers. Yes, and I'm happy he agreed that when they were in opposition, I'm very much aware that some of the bills came up and they were not really happy with it. Just like today, we are also not being happy with it. And I think it's time there's a bipartisan approach to these matters, and let's see how can we, and of course, how can the lawmakers be doing things that are not lawful? No, it is lawful, but the use of it is like soul sourcing. Okay, how many Ghanaians and media people have not spoken vehemently against the abuse of soul sourcing in procurement processes in this country? It's akin to that. Okay, so we are just appealing that no, let's not overuse some, especially when it involves critical bills. Okay, so there are certain bills that government wants to push, and they do that. Forgive me to use the word clandestinely, under certificate of urgency, and then it's pushed through. You then later go and you see, did we actually pass this? Why? You get it? And it may even be from the government side. Somebody may question it from the government side, because he didn't get the time to peruse it and make the detailed contribution. So I think it's for our own good, the public good, that we will get to a point where we will not abuse the use of the certificate of urgency in passing bills in Parliament.
All right, George, you won't buy the school of thought that when it gets to your turn, it bites the most and then you see the need, would you?
You got me there, Felix. But hey, once we are even in a position, we think we shouldn't abuse it and we should use this sparingly, as Honorable Charles is saying. I think if it's our turn, we would go by that. We cannot have the moral authority to see that in the event that we come back to power, we will begin to resort to this, where we have boldly now said we're going to resist the current government of the use of those things. If it's good for us, it should be good for the other side, and the ultimate good for Mother Ghana. That is what we need to be doing.
Okay, back into the studio, Charles. George introduced the word clandestine. Is there anything?
Well, I think there is nothing clandestine about the passage of an act of parliament. The process is very open. I think the problem that some are concerned with has to do with the amount of time available. Yeah. So there's nothing clandestine about it. All members of parliament will get the document, except that maybe some may not have the time to read entirely. Some are fast readers, others are not.
Yeah.
So that is something we can talk about. And like I said, that is a procedure that is not, should not be used often. But if there's the need, and the need indeed arises for its use, there should be no reason why we shouldn't use it. When you ask, Mr. You see the question about, they using it when they were there and now complaining. That is the point. You see, there is this jargon that if you are coming to Equity, come with clean hands. Yes. It doesn't appear that they are coming with clean hands in this charge that they are putting forward. If you look at the evidence, and I went for the statistics for purposes of this discussion, the statistics will show that in the 7th Parliament, that is the period between 2017 to 2020, 30 bills were passed through a certificate of urgency. Wow. Then in the 8th Parliament, the period between 2021 to 2024, 26 bills were passed through a certificate of urgency.
Those were done speedily?
Yes. So in all, 56. So now suddenly,
you want to slow
they
down.
turn around to say that, no, don't pass it. Did you not see these same things?
Last year, how many bills? Tell us the data. You have the data. How many bills last year?
Did you not see this? Last year, there are less than 10. You understand? So you see that clearly, they are making the politics out of it. And I'm sure that, I think part of that press conference, if you listen to the entirety of it, and apart from listening, I also read the entire document that they read, and you will see that it's an attempt sort of to try to divert some attention and media attention from the NPP primaries, which is upcoming.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes, and for which there has been so much discussion, and some of it, the language that they use, the insults that they throw around, that they wanted to let us divert a bit and move
But that's
the
your
media
thinking.
discussion.
That's
Also,
what
that
you-
I'm expressing
that's
my
your
view.
your
I'm
suspicion.
expressing my view. I'm sure that's what they sought to do. But otherwise, you look at a lot of the things they said in the press conference, I think that they were.
So
were
you
clearly
think
not
there's
necessary.
transparency?
And I believe that we should not abuse that procedure. You understand? But to say that you will not allow it, I just
It looks like it sounds then you're making a storm out of a teacup or something.
No. We are not making. Initially, I said we've gotten to a point that we need to have a bipartisan approach to that. The Honorable just cited 56 bills passed under certificate of urgency from 2017 to 2024. 56. Okay, it doesn't look too good. And he's saying less than 10 has been passed in year one already. By my postulations or projection, it tells me if 9, then you are looking at passing about 36 before the end of His Excellency President Muhammad's term. Okay, so that is also not the best for us. So we've come to a point that we need to agree with the minority. They have the numbers. Let's look at it and see how we can put an end to this or make it the use of it sparring. Okay, that is what we are talking about, so that all of us can get time. If it comes as a normal bill, they get time, they go through detail, dot the I's and cross the T's, and make germane contributions to that bill on the floor of the House, so that once it's ultimately passed, we know we have a solid document.
Thank you so much. But I'll take this final one from you, Charles. Other issues were raised in this whole, presentation of, the legal proceedings, and had to do with the alleged gold board losses, 214 gold losses, and then the government's failure to purchase cocoa beans, at promised prices. Just a minute, your thoughts on that.
Well, I think that there were allegations which were put forward. I mean, the state has come out to, comment and make a statement on this so-called losses at Gold Board. And it's obvious that there is no such loss as has been presented, as if somebody had caused financial loss to the state. So clearly that doesn't. As regards cocoa beans, I mean, the government is managing the economy.
Okay.
And managing the economy allows you to decide when to buy, how much to buy, and all that.
All right.
Let
So
them give the finance minister the opportunity.
Just a thought on that. Thank you so much,
thank you very
Mr.
much.
Charles Bardwa, NDC MP Bongo, and George Aisi was on the line. He's a member of the NPP communications team. Thank you, gentlemen, for showing up, and thank you for watching. It's been Headlines here on GTV Breakfast Show. There's more.